Hello, welcome to Fridays at 4 on twitch.tv/DDO stream. I'm your community manager, Cordovan, and I'm here today to take a look a little bit at our Update 63 preview that took place on Lamania this week. We'll have a little bit of information about the new quests, not too many spoilers, just a few teasers. We'll take a look at the deck of many things a little bit, and then we're going to head over into the live game worlds and do some night revels ahead of this kind of spooky holiday season. I don't know what the weather is like in your part of the world, but here it's a very soon-to-be Halloween weekend in Massachusetts. Kind of a little cold, a little rainy. The leaves are changing, and good fall weather, I guess, really all said and done, except for the rain. But hey, rain isn't always bad, so there we go. All right, well, I hope you're having a good one. I'm just kind of get a little bit to it. I wanted to just talk a little bit about the things that I did this week. Here we go. I must have put this on the wrong page. Oh, that's fine. We'll just do this here. There we go. All right, so this week we had our first preview of Update 63, and it featured 4 new challenge dungeons, and we've been deliberately coy / haven't said anything, and we're not going to, in this stream today, about how you're going to access them, other than to say that you're going to be challenged to work together to unlock these quests. So we got a little bit of an event thing that we're doing here with Update 63, and we do want it to be a bit of a surprise, so we're not previewing that on the stream, nor Lamania here for this preview. But we do have the 4 challenge dungeons available. These are in Legendary only. As a matter of fact, we have a bug on Lamania right now where you have to be at least level 30 to even access them. That's not the intended plan, but that was a bug. But they are just Legendary only, and they're going to be related to the thing that we're not talking about here as well. There is new named loot that we're going to take a look at here on the Lamania test server here in just a minute. The Deck of Many Curses is a preview this week of a new item. You'll collect cards to make decks, then use the decks to apply curses to your equipment. Random benefits to all of your items. To obtain cards and try out the deck, you can visit the test dojo, which we will do in just a little bit. There's a few other notes here that you can read at your leisure, general kind of updates and bug fixes and things like that. I don't know that there's a whole lot here we need to call out, other than we did flip finally that dinosaur bone greatsword, so its edge when you're wielding it, in all cases is now facing the correct direction. At least that's the hope. I know that there was someone on the forums who was particularly interested in seeing that one fixed, so it was nice to see that we were able to get that one done. But that's the main focus of the preview, is the things that I just mentioned. So let me... Oops. There we go. There we are. I'm on Lamania. And I thought I would show just a little bit of what we got going on. So to start off with, let's just take a look at the named loot that is in there. We're just looking at, the 12 items here. Legendary Fragment of a Flayed Mind, Illithid Charms. You'll see a sort of theme associated with the Illithid invasion. Legendary Pearl of Telepathic Seeking. That looks different. What's that? That's a trinket that'll give you quality dex, Deception, Seeker, and you can see through all veils, piercing magical and mundane defenses alike, +5 enhancement bonus to dodge bypass. The other one gets you Riposte, Quality Con, lesser displacement, and dodge 14. We have some rings that you can take a look at here. These are, I'm pretty sure, all up on the forums by this point, because this did come out earlier this week. But I thought it would be fun anyway to just show them off a little bit on the live stream. Some things I think I will be going after. Legendary Severed Tentacle. Don't think too much about that one there. So you don't want to. I really want to carry that around with me? Wouldn't it smell? All right. Anyway, I'll give you quality strength 3, double strike 3%, raging strength. Your rage abilities grant an additional 3 strength, and it's got a green and colorless augment slot. Also gives you Titan's grip, but I don't think people use those a lot. I don't use those a lot. Do you click on those things much? I don't. Sometimes the detect secret doors ones. Sometimes the expeditious retreat ones. So I guess I do. Just not that much. Enhanced key. Here's these Elithid charms. False life. Magical sheltering 8. Immunity to fear. The other one is life sealed. Force absorption. Quality con. Jar of rain essence. I think we already talked about that one. But there we go. So these are the new items here. Why is it called a deck of curses when it's only giving positive bonuses? Well, see, we've got a lot of names. Okay, I asked that question actually in a meeting this week, and it is because you are essentially applying a curse to the item. It is, under the current proposal, immutable. So you put it to your item and you're getting a benefit, but the item is essentially stained at that point with the curse. So there was even on Lamania this week, there was some items here that you'll see. Like you get a bunch of these cards and other worldly cards. Let's get to that here quick. That had negative effects. There was just a couple by the time it hit Lamania here this week, but there were still a couple. There was one that would make you very heavy, sink like a stone. There was another one that was, say, threat generation, one that was threat reduction, which, depending on your build and your role and goal, could be a bad thing. And basically all of that stuff has been removed. I think I've actually got... Yeah, here we go. So we've already removed the Curse of Stone, the threat boost and reduction elements, the superior augmentation augment slots for a technical reason, the mythical blessing, which granted a mythic bonus because it basically caused a problem with the stacking system that we didn't want to go forward with, and then a Curse of the Deckmaster, which was the ability to deal with the set bonus. Now that set bonus thing I know got some chatter on the forums. And it's something that we may reconsider at some point for a future thing. But I think at this point, we've decided to roll that one back as well and make it a different set of bonuses. But they were basically all bonuses by the time it hit Lamania here. So I had seen someone on the forum say something like, well, maybe call it a deck of good fortune or whatever. And okay, we could do something like that if we wanted to. All right, well, you'll get 12 of the various cards. We're not talking today about the acquisition method, but the intention is that getting 12 cards won't be too onerous. They'll be pretty plentiful. And then you will use that to make one of your decks of many curses. You'll double click on the deck to open a window here, and then you'll take an item that you have. I already did it on that item, so I think these will work. These are just old community loot list items. And you'll draw a card and apply it to the item. So then you're going to get one of the benefits from it. In this case, a Curse of Minor Intelligence, a +1 fortune bonus. And we do have a new bonus type here then for intelligence. Once it's on there, it's on there. So if I want a different effect on a different Scepter or Sybaris, that's an option to me. But this particular one is where it's at. Now the other big piece that took up a lot of conversation this week on Lamania is some player feedback that you would like to have a way to redo. Fundamentally, the design kind of works against the idea of redoing because it's not necessarily intended to be a new optimized tier of benefit. It's intended to be perhaps a more randomized tier of benefit. But that said, there's always going to be the possibility that someone could choose to get a bunch of named items and keep applying decks until they get the item they want, and then use that to slot the item. And that actually is somewhat part of the design, and that if it has the benefit of players being motivated to reacquire some older named loot, for example, go back into maybe dungeons, revisit some content, we don't really have a problem with that. So some of the design that we were talking about then goes against the idea of, okay, well, if it has to be random, can it not be? Um, That said, we also have seen a lot of the feedback on the forums and such this week, so we are considering our options about what we would want to do with this system. I'm not here today to be able to really present anything to you in terms of an answer, but we have been considering that, and we'll take a look at what we end up doing for update 63 and perhaps beyond. So that's where I can leave it today. But let's just look at it. What it is today then is you can get benefits on all of your named items, crafted items. It'll go on everything right now. There are some cases of items in this preview which are maybe a little more challenging than others because you may have already slotted things, and you wouldn't want to have it overwritten or something like that. So we understand there's still some polish to do. We are working on a preview on the Mania for next week. As well. That should be another preview of update 63. And we'll see a little more then. All right, well, while we're at it, though, let's just crunch through a bunch of these cards and make a bunch of decks and apply them to a bunch of items, huh? Because I do have things I can apply them to. So let's just take a look at some of the effects that we can get from this. This is a Curse of Wealth. Its sale value is increased considerably. Let's see, 105, what was the Shensurub otherwise? Actually, maybe that one's not working on this item. Or maybe it's only when it goes in there. But that's the intention of that one. Let's try it on this robe. +1 fortune bonus to rune arm DCs on this one. That should work. Fear immunity. And, ooh, fireflies follow me. Well, let's equip this then and see what's up. I don't think the fireflies are in yet. I am not yet seeing fireflies. Okay, well that makes sense. This is our first preview of this. I'm sure the particle effects aren't in yet. Another one for rune arm DCs. +2 search and spot, etc. So, you'll see it doesn't really change the binding status of the item. At least that was my experience so far. I believe that's to be the case. And there's a first look at Deck of Many Things. Well, like I say, we'll be seeing more about that in next week's preview and beyond. So, did I say Deck of Many Things? I said Deck of Many Curses. I believe that is accurate, Mr. Dorak, that it is not intended to add to the minimum level of the cursed item. I believe that that is indeed working as intended. It does currently work on random gen and Caneth crafted items, from what I understand. I believe it's pretty wide ranging in terms of what it'll work on right now. Alright, well, so I don't want to run the quest because I don't want to spoil it too much, but I did want to just peek into a few things, and so that's why I'm on my admin character here. So that I can bypass a few things to bypass, and then we'll just sort of get to where I want us to be. So this is one of the quests here. You can see this is one of the challenge dungeons where you may have to do a little bit. There might be some stuff you might have to do. But what I really want to do, I don't know if I can get past this without actually doing all the things. So let me kind of do this a shortcut way and get the levers. I don't think it'll let me through. No, it won't. Okay. Where was that lever now? There's one. There's two. And let's see, which one is the... Is that it? No. There's one more that I missed. I can't remember which one I had to go up now. It was in one of these. Could have sworn it was this one, but now I'm not seeing it. So, let me think. It's not that one. No, see, it's not that either. Okay, well, let me think about this. That's why these... Okay, these are extreme challenge, but even so, here we go. There we are. I knew it was there somewheres. That should get me past the gate. Yes. My character's moving weird because I've got the fly on. Yeah, okay, how do I get through this? Go. Yeah, this is the guy I wanted to show you. Look at that. How cool is that, huh? How cool is that? This should be coming live pretty soon. We do have a second Lamania set for next week, but I would expect to see it in November. And I think that's about as close as I want to get at this point, but it should be earlier in November, I think, is the current target date for Update 63. Alright, well, I'm going to recall out of this one then. I don't want to, like I say, I don't actually want to spoil these challenge dungeons too much, but I did want to preview them just a little bit. Let's see, what would be another good one? How about... This one is pretty interesting because it has a particular mechanic that I guess we've used in some formats before, but is a little different than what you might be used to. Let me turn my fly off. Okay. Let's see, where's my first fight? Yeah, here we go. Oh, it would help if I didn't have my Smite aura on. I don't know if I think I might have already ruined my chance. Alright, well, now it's off, and I'll do this for the next one. Maybe it's because I went in on normal. But you'll see that there are some enemies with different roles, including some roles to, say, support to their friends in terms of healing and other kinds of activities. And you're going to have to kind of sort through a little bit. Kill order might perhaps be a little more of import to you. This will be a free update. Everyone will be able to play these quests for free. This one's inside of a Caneth power facility. And like I said, I don't really want to spoil too much here, so I think we'll just leave it at that, other than kind of show you a little look-see around. Just kind of wanted to show you the upper area here too. So there's more to it. Kind of a cool looking laser gate. Alright, and then I think this is the last one here. Any plans to change ransack, since now we will, quote, have to farm multiple copies of named loot? You won't have to, but if some people may want to. I have not heard of plans to change the ransack mechanic. But I think that in general, you'll have plenty of opportunity to work with the deck of many curses, even if a particular named loot chest that you're really after that has a really rare drop chance or some kind of situation like that cools down off its ransack timer. Perhaps in the future, if people really enjoy this feature and delve into it deeply and frequently, perhaps it's something we could take a look at in the future. Alright, so we got a Mind Flayer inside of a base here. This one is a little different as well. I'm going to turn my speed off. This one has sort of, as you can see, a bit of a stealth mechanic where you can enter the controller's gate without alerting the guards. I don't think I've got ain't no way I'm doing this. But that's something that you can choose to do in this quest. And there's some giants in particular that have some pretty interesting kind of mechanics to them. You can see they are under the control of Illithids, which is why you are entering a Droim headquarters, ultimately. And I think we'll just leave that at that. So, let me teleport back to the test dojo. I'd take a minute or two to look at questions and see if there's anything that I should bring up before I swap on over to the main game world here and run a little bit of Night Revels. Can you give us a theoretically maximum power you can attain through this deck of many curses? Well, I mean, you've seen a lot of the lists of benefits that you can have. So there are occasional rare tier benefits that can give you, say, up to +5 to a stat or skill or something like that. Generally, it's in the +1 to +2 range, or different effects that do all sorts of different things, like you've seen some of here. So it's a wide range of effects, and something that we could certainly tweak and improve, offer more of, and keep supporting in the future, should it work out. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. But in general, I'm going to say incremental, with the occasional better than incremental. if you know what I mean, in terms of what I've seen of the power level of those, of the items themselves. But the idea is as well that because they can apply to such a wide range of items, that over the totality of the various slots in your character, you're going to be able to get quite a few of these. They don't stack, though, however, either. So if you get one that has a +2 fortune bonus, it's not going to stack with a +5 to give you 7, for example. You'll have a 5 if you got a 5, and a 2 if you have a 2. So I think that's about where I position it. Yeah. Will Spectral Scales be going back to being unbound for the next Night Revels? I don't think so. It's an unfortunate reality of we recently had to deal with a exploit inside of the game that caused a whole bunch of problems in the community and for us, and required us to make the Spectral Scales bound to account. Because of the way that they were being quickly acquired in large numbers, we could no longer support them being unbound. And I don't see that changing in the future. That's why we can't have nice things. But they are bound to account, so you can still just get them on whatever character you want and swap it to your alt. So. That's a very big question about, you know, is the Deck of Many Curses going to be the, quote, new meta? I'm going to say it is color and flavor to the existing meta more than setting a new meta. That would be my kind of rough impression about how I feel the placement of it is based on this first preview on Lemania. We'll see how things go. And certainly it is going to be an exciting thing to work through on our gear and see what we can get and get some cool things and get some not so cool things and then replace those not so cool things with cooler things, etc. Should be a good time. I don't think it's going to dramatically set new metas that much, but maybe I'm incorrect. We'll see. I would say it's more of a enhancement to existing rather than not. So there's a let me go back inside of the game here. So I'm going to just run some Night Revels quests on my characters. The bonus days this weekend. Really one of the big motivating factors of me wanting to run Night Revels today is to make sure I tell you the following, which is that the bonus days bonus is a 40% challenge rewards boost. And the challenge rewards boost may not work with all festivals, but it's working with this one. So you're getting 40% more Night Revels rewards. But on top of that, with this week's patch, we did have a patch this week to address some of the issues with Spectral Dragon Scales and other things that allowed us to reopen Eternity Unleashed and be able to continue with Night Revels. And one of those changes is it's now offering twice as many. So the horse is takes just as many, but you're going to get twice as many of the Spectral Dragon Scales from running Eternity Unleashed. So perhaps those who did not take advantage of the exploit were able to, or a little more easily able to get that horse and other objects in the Night Revels reward system. There's a few that take Spectral Dragon Scales. So this character in particular really needs to make sure, because there's a long-standing display bug that happens, which is that if you put on a cosmetic headgear and click it and then take it off, it'll show your regular hat unless you retoggle the thing. It's annoying, but it's just how it goes. But anyway, this is what I'm normally wearing, so that's usually why I choose to display my goggles. Actually, I kind of like the goggles. I think it looks cool. But that's why I do that. I do love that item, though. It just doesn't make sense for Mokto.
behind the door sets your nerves on edge.
So what that means is if you do the 5 levels over trick, and I think I'm 4 levels over on this one, so I don't think I'm going to quite make it. What, am I 4 levels? What did I even choose? I don't remember what I picked now. 36? Yeah, 36. So I'm 4 rather than 5. I'll have to go in on 37 on the next one. Anyway, the point is for the longer Night Revels quests, you can get like 61 with this bonus or so for running it. They'll reward different things. Just see the wiki or whatever you want to look at. But that means that if you're, say, looking this weekend to get a Wisdom plus 2 augment, the Festive Wisdom plus 2, the Festive Constitution plus 2 augment, you only really need to run 1 of most of the longer Night Revels dungeons, the ones that have the bigger payouts to get your 60. So that might be a bit of a motivating factor to pick up some more of those festive augments if you don't have them. And if you don't have them, there are festive plus 2 to your wisdom, constitution. That's good stuff. I think just about every character could use the con one. And just about every character could really use the wisdom one, especially if you don't have anything else. If you have another colorless augment slot that isn't filled or something. Never hurts. I'm air. Yeah, and some are even higher than 60. The one I ran the... I don't know, can't remember which one I ran. I ran one of them last night and got like 61 and I was like, okay, well, that's good enough for the augment. I think I actually had... I don't know if you do this, but I am not very good about unslotting festival augments from items that I am no longer using anymore. Because I tend to just stick them in my account bank or whatever and go, whatever, I'll deal with it at some point. I will totally take that augment off and then re-put it onto another item. And then I'm looking at my level 32 character on Orion, going, why don't I have these festival augments? I know that I've picked them up before. I've gotten them probably 3 times. Well, now it's 4. Anyway, they were pretty easy to get. And they're a really nice little benefit for Night Revels. So let me man that pitch and say, do it. You know you want to. It's well worth it. I only got 29 here. But that's because I'm 4 levels under. Or 4 levels over rather than 5. If Jeweler's Toolkits drop from chests, then it might be worth using them to remove those augments. It's cheaper to just grind new ones right now. Perhaps. I have to admit, I tend to be sitting on a small handful of Jeweler's Toolkits. The weekly store coupons, of which they show up sometimes. Daily dice, of which they show up sometimes. So I just, over the course of time, have not really felt the need. I don't think I've really ever run out. But I'm not doing it a ton either, as we just discussed. So... Instead, I will just put the item in my bank, say I'm going to take it out. Sure, I totally am. And then, of course, I don't. And then I don't know where it is. And then someday in the future, I'll be like, sweet! I'm glad that I already slotted this augment into this item that I'm now reusing.
Inside Lord's March Palace, you enter the darkened building to investigate.
So, one thing I could mention is that Extra Life kicked off last week and has been very successful so far. Really do want to thank everybody who has donated to Extra Life this year. I know for some people it's really just kind of a yearly thing that you do. You kick in, 50, 60 bucks, whatever you can afford to Extra Life. It is a tax-deductible donation. So we've got a bunch of people, say, in the community who just are like, yeah, it's every year I, hop in a little bit and get some of the incentives. We're using, for the first time ever, I'm able to actually give you coupon codes for the community loot list, which is, on the one hand, about as mundane as it gets, but is also pretty exciting for me because it allows a lot of flexibility where I can just give you a code. And so I just got to email it to you and stuff. I don't have to find your character inside of the game and do all that. As long as you gave me an email address or, say, forum handle, I can just message you a bunch of codes. And then you can either use those codes or you can give them to friends, guildies, whatever. It's all good. And so it's pretty cool to be able to do that this year. But I'm hoping that you have, if you've donated, you've filled out a survey. If you haven't, you do have time, but please do fill out a survey. This is how I get you those codes. And my intention is to actually start cracking through that in the next week or so. Every year I have ambitious goals about keeping up with donations, and then every year I end up disappointing not just myself, but everyone else. Because it's really hard to keep up with them all, and it ends up being, I don't know, I think last year was somewhere in the range of almost 600 people, unique people I had to get back to. And it just takes a while to actually manually get back to that many people. But I think I'm going to be able to start a little earlier this year. So, we'll see. But I'll be mailing you, hopefully, here in the near future. So, real cool. I don't have anything new for the community loot list this year, which is a little bit of a bummer. But I think we'll be doing more. Oops. That was the right door. We'll be doing more for future years. Got a few new things that we can work on and put together. I'm also intending to do an Extra Life live stream. Probably November 3rd is the one on the Lord of the Rings Online side. And that tends to be a fairly bigger production with about 12, we're doing 8 a.m. to midnight, and there's like 8 or 9 streamers involved. We usually haven't been quite that ambitious on the DDO side, but I'll do a live stream some afternoon here in the coming weeks. Maybe game day on November 4th, maybe not. I haven't quite decided what I want to do for the live stream, but since November 4th is game day, I might do something just on my own time here on November 4th, like do a Saturday stream after Voodoo or something like that. Do a little bit of an Extra Life fundraising drive. Our goal is 30,000 this year. Last year we raised about 33, so I'm hopeful that we're able to hit our goal this year. Usually we are able to, as part of Team Standing Stone Games. And I'm really hopeful that we all come together and are able to support Extra Life. And you can read more about it, extra-life.org/team/Standing Stone Games. So let's see. Plus 40% challenge boost, check. Extra Life, check. This week's patch, check. Lamania. I think I grabbed everything that we need to talk about from Lamania. Last week we had Rob Ciccolini, our executive producer, on for a Q&A. Was that last week? That was last week, right? 2 weeks ago? What? I don't even know what... That was last week, right? God, was that last week? Yes. 2 weeks ago? Regardless, that happened recently. So, he answered a whole bunch of things. Might want to go back and check that out if you ought. I know we got some Halloween-y goodness happening on Sarlona, right? Big Halloween party. I was in touch with someone. I gave someone some codes for a big Halloween party. Will there ever be a fix or decision on whether the banks are going to use buttons or scrolling? It's annoying having both design styles. I don't think I quite understand your question. Are you talking about the difference between the character bank and the shared account bank? So, if so, the shared account bank was updated years ago now to include pagination. The character bank does that too now. So, yeah, I'm afraid I don't entirely understand your question. But we generally, a while back, went to a paginated version of the banks, which allowed us to offer a whole lot more storage. And so that went up with that. So nothing new for this year for the community loot list, but we are going to have new things in the future. I was talking to one of the developers who's like, yeah, we should try to do something new every year. We can't always do that. You know, this is just generally... The early original impetus of the community loot list was a place for sort of orphaned items that had no home. You know, things that we weren't really going to be selling. You know, we weren't really going to be putting into rare loot tables or something like that. Maybe we didn't want to put it into daily dice, although in some cases it predated that. And so it tends to be a little bit of a hodgepodge of items made for old events and things like that. Over the years, it has morphed into its own sort of maintained loot list that takes actual development. You know, someone has to make this stuff every time. But there are also times where they're making other, say, creature companions and that. They'll make a version of it for the community loot list. And so that's always really cool to see as well. So yeah, we will totally be getting new things, just not this year. We did have... I'm not sure what the most recent addition to the loot list was. Was it the Thera count, perhaps? The Alabaster Lioness, I don't think we're able to. I don't think we're able to put that one on the loot list. That was a pre-purchase exclusive, or some kind of exclusive, as I recall. Plus, I think the demand for that might be high enough that it would be not appropriate for the loot list. In general, I think for UI design, we would want some form of either buttons and scrolling as well, really based as to what you as the player would find most convenient. In a perfect UI system, I think you would have choice based on personal interest of either buttons or scrolling. But in some cases, like say the paginated system allows to, it caches, you know, and displays a certain subset of things from the list. And so some of the scrolling is this is what's been cached, you're scrolling through it, and then you hit a button, in this case like an arrow or something, to go to the next page. And I don't know, I suppose you could always ensure that you wouldn't have to scroll, for example, and only display through a certain vertical height. But I don't know that that's necessarily an improvement. I think you get pretty adept at both kind of scrolling and clicking. I'm not sure. I would need to be personally convinced, I guess, a little more about kind of what the specific issue is with having both buttons and scrolling, and where it's onerous and causing you a headache. Yeah, that Alabaster Linus was a VIP gift. If I recall, though, we did leave open the possibility of bringing back that specific VIP gift in the future as a VIP gift. So perhaps we would be able to run that promotion again at some point. I can't speak to the skeleton damage issue being reported in Delara's graveyard. They're shooting, but nothing's happening. It could be related to... There's a lot of kind of physics in the graveyard with gravestones and hills and things that sometimes their shots aren't excellent with. But I would need to kick that over to probably some mix of content and systems to take a look at and investigate. So fill out a bug report if you would be willing. And let's see if we can get that maybe looked at for next year. And yeah, that's right. It was the reskinned Black Panther to get around the rules as a VIP benefit. And so I think the reason it wouldn't go to the community loot list at this time anyway is because we might want to bring that back in the future. All right, how many did I get? $72. Well, that's enough. That's enough for an augment. Will there be an update to the airship in the near future? I don't think so. We have had simmering for... There's a lot of projects that are simmering for years, right? Ideas that come about that if we ever get the ability to do X, Y, or Z, we'd love to do A, B, and C. It happens all the time. Just all the time. And but one of those things is guild amenities, guild airships, other kinds of guild objects and improvements and things that you could have fun with. And I'm sure that at some point we will get there, because there's interest both among the team and the community for us to do some of that work. But it also tends to be a fairly big project. It's kind of a big bullet point item, as you might say. So I don't know that it's something that we're going to do in the near future, which was what was asked in the question here. So I don't think in the near future, but I do think at some day we will be doing another extensive look at the guild system, both as a system and as in terms of fun. You know, where else can you get together? What could it look like? It could be just a really cool kick-ass airship. It could be something else. I mean, I don't know. It could be all sorts of things. And so I would expect to see us do that someday. And the wish listing that you can get into on that's real high too, because I've got about 100 things that I think would make for really awesome places for guilds to hang out. And, you know, if you want to hear my list... Start with a tavern. Or like a inn or something that your characters can manage. Fortress. Keep. Really big canoe. Floating sky castle. I got what, like 95 more to go? Yeah, alliance features. Some kind of inter-guild thing even, perhaps. The possibilities are somewhat endless. You could blow up that system in a million different ways. But I do think we'll get there at some point, because there is general interest in us doing it. We want to do it. You want us to do it. And so I would expect that at some point its time will come. I don't know that I am qualified to give you, like, yes, the voice of Dungeons and Dragons has spoken and you will get +5 to main stat. I thought I saw that, though. Didn't I see that? Didn't I see a +5 to main stat in one of the charts that people were doing? Would have to look it up now. I see a +6 to strength, so that counts, but that's not 5. It's also a 15-page thread, so I'm going to, I think, just kind of leave it up to the wiki and the thread itself to get into the specifics about all the things that you can crunch through, because I know people have gone this week on Lamania and just crunch, and put together some spreadsheets and lists, so I don't know that I have that list in front of me, but I thought it was something like that. Alright, I see, like, +1 strength constitution, open lock, +5 MRR, +5 melee power, +2 imbue dice, feather falling. We saw the rune arm DCs, +2 ranged power, +1 reflex, +1 sneak attack dice, +1 assassinate. So yeah, generally +1, +2, +5, etc. But I do see one that is a 6 strength, so assuming that is correct, it looks like the answer is up to +6 then, for a jackpot on the main stat. And yeah, that's not nothing. So. But I also think that's going to be a pretty rare benefit. Guild ship battles. Gosh, I remember way back in the day. This would have been. I want to say a. Menace of the Underdark era? Maybe a little beyond, maybe a little after that. I saw someone's spec for kind of a guild airship battle spec. And clearly it didn't happen. And in part it was due to really the complexity that developing and maintaining such a system would be. But I saw one. At one point there was an idea about kind of like, what could you do about as a general rule, guild versus guild PvP, but it would be sort of group versus group competition, really, is maybe a more eloquent way to describe it. And some of that would involve things like attacking each other on airships and stuff. As a spec, remember, none of this ever actually happened. It got as real as being written down, well, typed out and printed. Typed out on a computer and printed somewhere. So I like Night Revels a lot. Not just for the first time XP, but at least because of the first time XP. I know that, you know, we're in the year 2023. 0.97 or whatever. But
A pale form stands before you,
if there's something that Mr. T would get behind, it would be
revealing a set of fangs
don't sit on Night
betraying the
Revels
creature's
quest
true
for XP.
nature.
If you haven't run Night Revels quest this Night Revels, don't be a fool. Pity the fool. Doesn't run Night Revels quest for first time XP. Do it. Good case of it being much easier to write something down than actually do it. But still, it was I remember reading it thinking, ooh, would be cool. That'd be real cool. I think the Night Revels rewards, you know, as somewhat impossible a challenge as it is to ensure that the loot you're making today stays relevant years from now. I think in large part, the Night Revels loot has stayed basically relevant throughout its history. I'm still occasionally looking at, like, say, the cloaks and the spectral daggers and things like that and going, I'm gonna get myself one of them. I think there's actually quite a bit still in Night Revels that's pretty good. On top of those festival augments. So run them all, especially this weekend. 40% boost. Basically just need to run them all once, maybe not even. And get one of those wisdom or constitution augments for your character. I would expect at some point we will do the work to update to level 32 Night Revels items that are not yet. It's just part of the work that has to be done in addition to everything else going on. And so I don't think it just didn't get done in all cases here. But I would expect to see us totally do that. Any chance of seeing the Traveler again? Probably. You know, we had talked leading up to Vecna Unleashed how we really kind of wanted to move on to something else a little bit and wrap up the current storyline that we've been doing. So to that extent, I think we may not see the Traveler for a little while, because we are going to be exploring some other things instead. But we have a tendency to want to bring back characters, especially characters that the community enjoys interacting with. So I'm sure we'll see the Traveler again. I don't know that we have currently a plan to utilize the Traveler, but that's a very different thing from saying the Traveler won't be coming back. It's a cool character, and you can do a lot with it. Okay, so Tavern Tale says, you love the egg hunt in the marketplace. You noticed related egg hunt items are in the store. Could it be returning? Yes. It could. I don't know that I can commit us to much of anything at this point, but I have heard of some thoughts about what we could do for the egg hunt in a real way here to be able to bring it back, as they say. Now, we could basically run it as is. I just don't think the value would be there, because in general it's a very old kind of mini event that had benefit commensurate with sort of the, not minor, but lesser nature of the event. It was kind of meant to be just sort of a quick little event that didn't get you anything all that fancy. But it did get you a few, like some random gen loot and such. And there's long been a plan to bring it back in a more meaningful way that would be enjoyable. And I know that there's some work that has been done in the documentation stage to date about what we could do in a real way, perhaps next year for it. So who knows? Maybe we'll have something to say in 2024 about the Festival of the Traveler. But it, as with any kind of project, it could also be that what we think we might do today doesn't end up happening. I got 96 pinches of Sinister Cinnamon. I don't think that seemed anything all that crazy to me in terms of difficulty. I mean, I know that Makdo is a very good character, but still, you can do it too. One run each and you'll get your 60 ingredient stuff. So thanks for watching. Fridays at 4 on twitch.tv/DDO stream. Show goes live on YouTube afterwards. Hope you have a great DDO weekend, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.